We're looking at Game 14 of the first China-Japan Weiqi Arena contest. Kato Masao 9. Dan plays black against Nie Weiping 9 Dan. In the last game, Mr. Nie Weiping managed to turn the tide at a critical moment, ultimately making a comeback against Koichi 9 Dan. In this current game, he faces the Japanese team's vice-captain, Kato Masao 9 Dan. He is one of Japan's absolute elite players. Due to his fierce playing style and incredible attacking power, he earned the nicknames Killer and Executioner in Japan. Before playing this match, Nie Weiping had never won against Kato Masao 9 Dan. So heading into this game, Mr. Nie was also under immense pressure. Now, let's take a look at how this game unfolded. In the opening, Black chose a star point and 3 to 4 point opening. White's fourth move was a 3 to 4 point facing Black. This move is quite rarely seen nowadays. Usually, one plays on the star point or a 3 to 4 point facing oneself. White playing the 3 to 4 point facing Black is a strategy likely to prevent Black from forming the Chinese opening. If Black forms the Chinese opening now, White's large knight's enclosure would be a perfect point. So in the game, Black chose a corner approach to the 3 to 4 point, and White chose a counter approach, disturbing the framework, effectively disturbing Black's intended layout. So, regarding White 6's large knight's approach, it is quite rare in today's AI era. Or we could say in AI's moves, the large knight's approach is almost eliminated. In human games, these four approaches, the 3 to 4 point one space high approach, the 3 to 4 point knight's approach, the 3 to 4 point large knight's approach, and the 3 to 4.2 space high approach. These four are all approach methods used by human players. But from AI's perspective, the latter two have become extremely rare, namely the 3 to 4 point large knights and 2 space high approaches. So, AI believes that when White makes the 3 to 4 point large knights approach, Black just needs to calmly play a diagonal move in the corner. And playing this pattern is a satisfactory move for Black. In the game, Black chose to jump, which is considered a more active move. White plays a knight's move, entering the corner. Next, Black plays a one-space pincer. This pattern is also a traditional sequence in older games. If we look at it from AI's perspective, this pincer move is not recommended by AI. AI's logic is very clear. AI thinks it should just push twice here. So white can only make a solid extension. And after black makes this press, connecting the dots in the center. This is a very simple yet highly efficient move. Black's two pushes are meant to fight for center, compressing white from both sides to build a framework in the center. However, in the older eras of Weiqi, black's consecutive pushes were never played. So black still chose to play the traditional pattern. Next, white chose a diagonal move. Besides this diagonal move, white could also push from behind. The reason white didn't choose to push in the actual game, we can only guess, is to avoid black's push and bamboo joint, which is also an old pattern. Next, white roughly has two choices here. One is to jump outward, or a second line, tiger's mouth. Jumping outward focuses on moving out quickly. But in terms of points, black seems to be much more satisfied with this. White could also play the second line, tiger's mouth, first, which is a vital point for the local shape. Then, black plays a hen on the head. Interestingly, we can say that up to this point, this is a very common variation played by human players. To move out, white seems forced to detach, and black makes a solid extension. White extends after black takes centate. Black can go back to play the extension on the upper side. This is likely the result white wanted to avoid in the actual game. However, if we look at this with AI, interestingly, AI thinks white should hang and move out here. Then black will inevitably cut white. Then white crawls on the second line to live. When white crawls up to this point, the group is already alive. If black makes a solid extension, white takes centi to play a pincer attack above. AI thinks this variation is better than the traditional pattern I just showed. We must say, the move white chose to play here is absolutely shocking to human players. Because when we first started learning Weiqi, we were taught a famous proverb which says, crawl on line 2, live but still lose. We usually consider the second line to be highly inefficient. The more you play on the second line, the more you will lose. However, AI's judgment in this situation is completely different. It thinks that after white takes cente, a corner approach here is extremely valuable. Since black's influence in the upper left is incomplete, AI believes this resulting shape is actually completely acceptable for white. This completely overturns human understanding of Weiqi. In the actual game, white worried about black's push and bamboo joint. So white chose to play the diagonal move first. Naturally, black responded with fighting spirit by pushing and turning. Black didn't want white to profit from the diagonal move. So he showed fighting spirit by pushing and turning. Next, white plays hang. Black extends, running with two liberties. Up to here, this is a relatively old pattern. Following the pattern, black should continue to jump. But in the actual game, black chose to press here first. We can see that black's game plan is very clear here. If black jumps directly, he worries about white's diagonal move. This move is an absolutely excellent choice. After moving his group out, this thick diagonal move clearly impacts black's framework on the upper side. So black didn't want to leave this great diagonal move for white. Black chose to play the press first. He hopes white will jump out following the normal pattern. Then black can finish the pattern sequence, allowing black to build a very nice framework on the upper side. This means black's Sente press has achieved its goal. In the actual game, white saw through black's intention, so he chose to crawl and then play elsewhere. This move is also quite rare. But according to AI, this game plan is actually brilliant. It is just that AI thinks white should crawl one more time here before playing elsewhere. Locally, crawling 3 times versus crawling 4 times before playing elsewhere have both appeared in past human games. But AI reveals that its variations differ significantly from human logic. Let me explain in detail where the differences lie. Normally speaking, from a human perspective, crawling one more time means that after black turns, white can choose to play elsewhere again, like a small knight's enclosure or a 3 to 3-point invasion, taking big moves. Later, in the corner, if black plays a knight's move, white can attach to make life. Next, black plays hang, white cuts, black plays Atari. Notice the direction of the Atari. Don't Atari here, because after white's descent, black is in a bit of trouble and must draw back. Then white can simply capture to live. So black should Atari at this position. White descends. Black captures. Under normal circumstances, white might not have supporting stones on the left. So white will choose to Atari and descend. In this diagram, white is unconditionally alive. Above, in the corner area, black needs to fix the shape. If black doesn't fix, white can play a hang and calmly Atari here. The three stones form a connect and die, and white lives. If black fixes the shape here, white can hang and descend to leave unconditionally. So under normal circumstances, white crawls 4 times in the upper right to be able to play elsewhere again. Interestingly, according to AI, white should still play a small knight's move in the corner. From a human perspective, we usually crawl 3 times. If white plays elsewhere and black turns, white absolutely must fix the shape. Why not crawl 4 times before fixing the shape? It is simple, because human players think crawling on the second line is a loss. If we have to fix the shape in the corner anyway, it is better to crawl 3 times and then fix the shape. Why does AI think we should crawl 4 times and still fix? Its reasoning is that after crawling 3 times, black's block becomes extremely valuable. If white plays elsewhere to take a big move now, no matter where it is, black can later play in this local area. By playing an attachment here, white now faces 2 choices here. One is to push out, but AI shows a direct hang and knight's move. In this diagram, white's fight is a bit forced. If white insists on running out, although black is thin on the outside, because white is very short on liberty, so black can play hang to kill here. So this fight is not advantageous for white. As I showed, this fight is bad for white. So white might have to barely survive by playing hang here to leave. White's descent secures life, but after being sealed in by black, living painfully in gold is unsatisfactory. If it plays out like this, white obviously suffers a loss. So, when black plays the attachment, white might be forced to barely survive like this. AI thinks black clearly takes advantage here. So, AI believes white must crawl one more time locally, so that after black turns, white plays a knight's move and the block isn't severe. Because the cut across is no longer possible, white can simply push and Atari. This is a specific area where AI's judgment differs from humans. In the actual game, white drew back, black turned. White played a knight's move to the corner. After white fixes the top right corner, black now faces a choice. We can see 3 obvious big moves on the board. One is to block and threaten white's corner. Another is the 2 corner approaches at the bottom. Since black has built influence on the right, in the game, black chose a corner approach from the right side. The actual choice was a high approach. This high approach is actually quite a rare move. If we analyze this with AI today, the standard is a low approach. We can only guess that in the game, Black avoided the low approach, fearing white's pressing attachment. Under normal circumstances, black plays Hein and white plays a solid extension. For this pattern today, the top choice is usually a diagonal move. But back in that era, black mostly played a solid extension and white blocks. Next, if black wants to keep expanding, the right framework, pushing seems to be the only way. Then white will Hein on the head. Here, if black seeks a fight and cuts here, white will likely calmly fix the shape here. The ensuing fight is quite complicated, but it is probably harder for black to handle. Because this white stone in the center is relatively light. After a simple settlement here, white can easily move out. It is hard for black to attack this white group. And if the attack fails, black's framework in the center will vanish. So black faces pressure fighting in this area because it comes with a cost. If black decides not to cut and fight, but plays Hein to enclose territory instead, white will likely adopt this sacrifice strategy, which is very simple. If the game proceeds like this, black's right side, the enclosed territory, is clearly an overconcentration. So black might have been worried about this in the game and chose a high approach. White's jump is a normal response. Next, black chose to Atari here. This Atari is clearly a slow move during the opening stage. From Kato 9, Dan's perspective here. Since his playing style is highly combative and extremely fierce, he keenly spotted a loophole with a double Hein here. For example, if black chooses to block at this highly valuable spot, he was worried that after white's double Hein, since the ladder in the bottom right favors white, white could cut black here. So in the actual game, Kato 9 Dan thought this cut would be very severe. But actually, black doesn't fear this cut. A simple option is a sacrifice, while a tougher option is to fight. Both of these ideas are feasible. The first sacrifice option is to simply jump here. When white runs, black plays Hein. The sequence will definitely end up like this. Next, white will likely turn here to capture, because this is the most efficient. Then black calmly plays a solid extension. Black could also choose a double Hein here, but AI thinks the aji of a solid extension is clearly better. A double Hein fights for Sente, but a solid extension is more efficient overall. Well, this is the sacrifice variation, which is roughly an even result. Black's tougher option is to play Hein here. If white plays a solid extension now, black will jump. meaning white hasn't really captured anything. If white keeps running, black will calmly sacrifice the stones. Black just needs to connect now. In this variation, white actually captures fewer points. Okay, white capturing here yields slightly more points. Considering white captures so few points, even if black fixes the outside, for example around here, or fixes around here, black can be completely satisfied. If white doesn't want black to sacrifice stones, like this, white can simply choose a solid extension to fight. Black's Sente Atari here is very comfortable, because we have to consider that after black's Atari at the top, some influence will faintly emerge in this area. Once black connects, this influence will form and eventually turn into territory. After the Atari, white will usually connect. If black captures this stone, the value is massive. After white connects, black takes Sente and quickly plays this diagonal move. Black is definitely not afraid of this fight. If white cuts, black naturally jumps out. So Kato Masao 9, Dan was overthinking a bit here. This double Hain is nothing to fear. Black's two biggest options are to block here or to block white at the bottom. Both of these moves are viable choices. The Atari in the actual game was too cautious, and the game tilted in white's favor. Then, white chose to jump here, which is also a move of massive value. Jumping here clearly compresses black's right framework and leaves room to invade later. Well, black also calmly fixes the shape. Then white chose an extension. Well, this extension is also a bit too conservative. Under normal circumstances, modern players would play a 3 to 3 point invasion. They didn't have this concept back then, but a corner approach would still be more active. Of course, the biggest spot on the board is actually the crawl in the top right. Compared to black blocking in the corner, this crawl makes a huge difference in white's corner points. White probably realized that black's Atari was a bit low in value, so white felt a slight sense of advantage in the game. White chose to simply fix white. Avoided the corner approach, and the logic is immediately reflected in the next move. Because after white's bottom extension and black's block, white immediately chose an inside corner approach. Not choosing to directly approach the corner was intentional. White wanted to keep the option of an inside corner approach to destroy black's influence on the left. When white played a corner approach on the left to destroy black's framework, black hesitated when facing this choice. Actually, there is a wiki theory about pushing the opponent towards your own influence. So black's correct move here should be a diagonal attachment. White will likely choose a high extension. Since black on the left is relatively thick, when black forces white toward its own influence, for black, the chosen direction is toward the bottom, Though the left framework is gone, black can still exploit white's left side later, using moves like placement to potentially gain some points in the future. AI believes that after black takes this exchange, it can keep taking points by attaching and playing Hein. AI thinks the point value here is massive. We can simply see this as black moving toward the bottom corner, letting white take the left side. Purely from a points perspective, black has the advantage. In the actual game, Kato Masao 9 then felt some pressure here. This pressure came from white already taking a lot of territory. So black chose a pincer attack here. Black didn't want to easily lose the left framework, so he chose to pincer. This means using influence to enclose territory. Normally, we would use influence to attack. But here, black did the exact opposite, trying to use influence to enclose territory. This is arguably a questionable choice. White's counterpincer is a great move. If white simply plays a 3 to 3 point invasion, that would fall right into black's plan. If it plays out like this, black's knight's move is great, expanding its left framework while reducing white's right framework. This move is the absolute focal point of the frameworks. This was the goal of black's one-space pincer. In the game, white's counter pincer was great. It is a brilliant move, refusing to just mutually enclose territory with black. Okay, next, black attaches. White chooses to keep jumping on the right. You can see white is very wary of black's right framework. So it keeps restricting the growth of black's framework. Actually, playing Hein and attaching in the left corner to finish the pattern is worth a massive amount of points. It is also AI's top choice in the game. White chose to keep restricting black's framework. Then black secures the corner with a tiger's mouth. After black makes its group thick, white also chose to fix the bottom. Here, white's diagonal move is very solid. Normally, we'd consider jumping to expand the framework. But the reason for not jumping might be the fear of black capping it. The jump isn't as solid as the diagonal move. We can only guess that was the intention. The move AI recommends here is quite interesting. First, AI's top choice is a Hein. This move is incredibly powerful. What you'd call a table flipping move. Because when white plays Hein, black absolutely refuses to capture. Being hit by white in Sente makes black far too over-concentrated. So black will definitely extend and fight. After white's Hein, it must also extend and fight. Then if white jumps out with a knight's move, black stretches This local fight is exactly what black wants, because black is extremely thick here. But for white, AI focuses heavily on efficiency. And beneath this efficiency lies incredibly deep calculation. Take this variation, for example. Frankly speaking, human players wouldn't dare play this, because with the left side not yet alive, it just keeps taking territory. Next, whether black calmly fixes the shape here or forcefully tries to kill white, from a human perspective, both are extremely hard to handle. So this is a very AI specific move. Actually, the most efficient move we can grasp is this knight's placement. Aiming at the edge of cutting through next. Naturally, black refuses to just fix the shape here, right? Black clearly loses out in this exchange. So black's counterattack would likely be a push from behind or through. If black pushes, white encloses territory, which white is perfectly happy with. If black chooses to push and cut to fight, white can simply play Atari and sacrifice the stones. This approach is indeed slightly better than the actual game. In the game, white still felt it had the advantage, so it chose a diagonal move to solidly fix the shape. Next, black plays in the widest area at the top, making a move. Blocking white. White moves out, and black jumps. Once black takes the last big move on the board, the opening stage of the game is officially over. A fierce middle game battle will follow.